Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in, Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, as we kick off another week, sitting alongside Bobbi and Buddy. It is Friday. Welcome back, you guys, or welcome in, I should say.
Always glad to be here.
Always glad.
Fun Friday, informative Friday, exciting Friday. We have all kinds of names for our Fridays.
Thank goodness it's Friday.
All that. Well, today we got another great topic. We'll get to it in just a second. Before we do that, just a reminder, if you are out there and you're seeking a professional for your home buying, or maybe need someone to assist you in listing your house, you'll hear me say this a lot. I know it may sound repetitive, but make sure you get with the 10%, I'll refer to them. The 10%, someone like Bobbi that spends her time and energy and resources on building her business, educating herself and clients in the industry. If you need help on home buying, selling, you can reach her at 650-346-5352. You could text or call, or you could always go to the website, Bobbi Decker, BOBBIDECKER.com. If you need help on financing, I'm here to help you do that on a purchase, refinance, or maybe even more importantly, before that purchase, please, before you do anything, a lot of people get this wrong, and I've been doing a lot of videos and a lot of, I should say, podcasts on it. You want your financing first before you do anything. You want to know what you could afford before you do anything in a real estate transaction. Otherwise, you could be having a lot of surprises and upset with a lot of people. 408-838-9060, or you can email Joe at reradiolive.com. All right. Topic today, residential building styles. That's right, residential building styles. Some of you may not know how many there are. 35 different styles. Unbelievable. Residential alone. So we're not talking about commercial here. In the U.S., stay with us for a multi-part series, because this is number one in these series. We're going to talk about, again, residential building styles. 35. Bobbi, get us started on this journey of 35.
This is so fun, and I tell you why, Joe, because people come up to me all the time, just here in California, say, is this a condo or a townhouse? And I go, guys, it has to do with the style. If you are one on top of the other, you are a condo. That's your style. If you are linear, you're a townhouse. That means you've got an upstairs and a downstairs, and there may be people on either side. They call them row houses too, but here in the Midwest or in the West, we call them townhouses. But these are actual styles of residential homes. If you don't understand them all, but you want to know and have a deeper level of the details, please do go to www.bobbidecker.com and just click on my blog. And I'm going to start today by grouping the most dominant types that you find in the American West.
That'd be fun to do. I think people should do that. Go to your website.
Yeah.
Take a look at these.
Click them
really
in.
Cool, yeah.
Cool stuff. You've got Pueblo and Pueblo Revival. You've got Prairie. You have Spanish, and there are a number of varieties of that. You've got Ranch, and then you've got Monterey. So I'm going to start with Pueblo and Prairie.
Little Pebble Beach house?
Or no, I'll do that a little late. That's just modern gorgeous.
Yeah, they don't, Joe. They don't have a category for golf house.
I'm just being a smart aleck. All right.
So Prairie, developed in the Midwest by architectural trailblazer Frank Lloyd Wright. The Prairie style is based on the idea that a home should serve all practical needs without being too overly embellished or showy. It was influenced by arts and crafts movement, and it features many of the same concepts, such as built-in furniture, simple materials, here's your open floor plan, even back in the days, right? But prairie-style homes are also, they will feature long flat roofs, rows of windows, very horizontal and organic patterns. So that's your prairie. You can almost, when you say the word prairie, it sounds like that kind of house, doesn't it? Then you've got Pueblo Revival. This is really, really popular in the Southwest, and they date back to the early 20th century. The style was influenced by ancient Pueblo Indians, simple multifamily homes. And the earthy materials are, you can call it out. It's adobe, concrete, stucco, mortar, really large wood beams are used. They are gorgeous. Buddy and I saw a few of these in Santa Fe, right?
Yes, beautiful.
Beautiful,
cool.
beautiful. Enclosed courtyards, very flat, sometimes a little bit sloping roofs. You've got rounded exteriors with square windows. And that's just trying to copy the original Pueblos. So, Bud, what about ranch in Spanish?
Well, I love the idea of ranch. We're out here in the West, on the East Coast, they call them farms. It's that
That's
simple.
funny.
It's that
Good,
simple
yeah.
of a distinction.
Right.
But I would have to say the East Coast style of farm is often differs from what we call ranch.
Absolutely.
Ranch is often a very flat, one level or maybe split level, but more often than not a kind of flat. And we have a ton of it here because it all generated here. So ranch kind of became a style, or known as a style, after everybody looked at the Western ranches. In 1930, it began to really spread out around the country as a model and a style. It's kind of focused on having a garage, having some porches out front. As I mentioned, kind of usually a single story is the best approach. And ranch style is a common thing that you see all over California and other parts of our western states. Spanish, of course, also has its heritage here, largely from when the Spanish owned all this part of the world. And it takes in things like the European flavor from Spain, but also kind of connected with Native Americans. So there's a real mixed flavor for Spanish here in the United States that probably the people in Spain would never quite recognize what it is that we've got here. It kind of connects with the Mediterranean style and design, though, of that part of the world. It's typically clay with roof tiles, lots of arches, porches. That property we talked about in one of the other shows, 4.7, had beautiful outside porches that were very comfortable from that standpoint. And they looked at the old missions that were built up and down the California coast that the Spanish built. That really kind of helps to give you a picture of what these Spanish-style homes look like, but there's a wide variety of them. We could actually get into probably 3 different levels of Spanish-style homes. But, Joe, let's go to Monterey Colonial.
Monterey, love the word, just the way it sounds. Monterey Colonial is an architectural design, or style, I should say, developed by Alta, California. The second floor surrounding the porches is kind of the main distinguishing characteristic of that. The oldest surviving example is the Larkin House in Monterey, California, built by Thomas O. Larkin in 1835. Wow. The largest example of the style is the Rancho Petaluma adobe, begun by Mariano Vallejo in Petaluma, California in 1836. So revivals of the style have been popular in the 20th century, substituting wood framing or brick, or for adobe, I should say. Other common variations use gable-end roofs and second-story only covered porches. The Monterey Colonial is one of the non-Hispanic, if you will, historical styles recognized through not encouraged really for new construction, I should say, by the architectural design guidelines of Santa Barbara, California. Actually, Santa Barbara, California has some of I love that area, by the way.
Gorgeous homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, Bobby sold one that had his Monterey porches on the second floor.
Man.
It's just stunning. It was on the back of the house, and to me that said it was as beautiful as the front of the house.
Right.
Well, that's where we got to cue the deer.
Okay,
Remember?
Cue the Deer stories finally
coming out. We're
I'm curious
standing there.
about this cueing the deer thing.
Well,
not skewing.
No,
right?
Queuing.
no queuing.
You know, like on the movies, cue the
Yes,
cue the entertainment.
All
This
right.
is cue the entertainment story.
It was, because I have to tell you, one of the reasons that the agent that had this listing for so long prior to Buddy and I and Alan getting it was that it had too small of a backyard. But the Bangkok buyer that bought it loved it because he didn't have to pay for landscapers to come in and take care of it when he was at one of his other 5 or 6 homes, right? So it became a plus. So what happened was I was up there showing, and in came mommy deer, daddy deer, and all the baby deers. and probably another mommy deer, because there were a lot of little deers there. And either she was having like quadruplets, or there was another fawn that I was not seeing.
Yeah, but you're looking out of the kitchen
and
window, and there's a herd of deer.
Mesmerized, and they were just quietly, very gently sitting back there.
Yeah, they were
magical.
There. Yeah,
really
built-in lawnmowers.
Yes, and they didn't seem to mind the fact that the yard was a little bit small. They were all kind of sleeping together. It was great. It was just it was one of those moments, you know, Joe?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about Eichlers,
the
Eichlers of the Bay Area and L.A. Between 1949 and 1966, Joseph Eichler's company, called Eichler Homes, built over 11,000 homes in 9 communities in Northern California and 3 communities in Southern California. And you see them all throughout Mountain View, Palo Alto, certain sections up in San Mateo called Eichler Highlands. I mean, it's very distinctive. Okay, other firms did go on to kind of build houses that were very, very simple, very similar, and they were all kind of grouped together as Eichlers. But during this period, Eichler became one of the nation's most influential builders of modern homes, and one of the largest contiguous Eichler home developments is the Highlands. That's what I was just talking about. In San Mateo, they were built between 1956 and 1964. Okay, he's kind of considered a social visionary, this Joseph Eichler, and he was commissioned designs primarily for the middle class Americans. And one of his stated aims was to construct inclusive and diverse planned communities featuring integrated parks and community centers. And he has one up in the Highlands. I mean, that's why families want to live up there. Well, first of all, they've got super cool inner patios.
Yes. Yeah, lots of glass.
Lots and lots of glass. And, of course, having that community center when you're raising kids is great. Go play. Go to the pool.
We're going to take a break in just a minute. But, Bobbi, the people, it seems like people love these things or they hate these things almost. I hear
Absolutely.
both sides. Is that what are your thoughts on that? When the Eichlers?
Oh, there are people that just have to have an Eichler.
I know. Yeah.
And if you've touched anything in the Eichler, they think you've absolutely ruined it. Like if you tried to upgrade it with an upgraded kitchen or something.
It's sort of like tearing a Frank Lloyd Wright home apart,
right?
To make it something other than what it is.
But it is a love-hate. Yeah. It really is.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue the series. This is a series, the first one of residential building styles. Joe Kuchera sitting alongside Buddy and Bobbi. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Working and living in a global world often means you need competence, intelligence, and connectivity that can assist you to optimize results everywhere in your life. This is true in business, your lifestyle, and your living environments. When this means changes in your property requirements, Bobbi Decker and her team, working with the Sotheby's International Realty Network, can assist in optimizing your results. If you have residential real estate requirements in the San Francisco Bay Area or around the world, contact Bobbi. If the property needs are not in her area of expertise locally, she will vet the Sotheby's Realty agents in the appropriate area of the globe where you need expert assistance. For more information or assistance, contact Bobbi at 650-346-5352. Visit her website at www.bobbidecker.com or email bobbi.decker@sotheby'srealty.com.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. As we continue through our topic today is a series. This is the first one of many to follow, residential building style, sitting alongside Buddy and Bobbi. We're going to kick it back to Bobbi. Continue talking about those Eichlers.
Right, the love-hate.
Yeah, the love-hate.
Well, I just think, they're very, very special design, and if you like that inside glass and all of the wonderful inner patios, the sanctuaries, the courtyards, it's just super cool. But I want to tell you why I love this Joseph Eichler so much. And this is the person. The man,
right.
Okay? He was one of the first to establish a non-discrimination policy and offer homes for sale to anyone of any religion or race. Now, that's
amazing.
I mean, you think back, what are you talking about, 1950s?
And
they had all this discrimination.
Yeah.
And in 1958, he actually resigned from the National Association of Home Builders because they refused to support a non-discrimination policy.
That is
That's
amazing.
a factoid we pulled from.
It's sad, but it's amazing that you had a pioneer like that.
Well,
right?
if you look at some of these prelims, Joe. Oh my gosh, it goes back.
You're fine.
Isn't it
That's
scary?
an interesting thing. Some of the stuff that's in those prelims.
Very discriminatory.
Oh
my gosh, yeah.
Right?
And women.
Yeah.
A woman shall not
Right.
be able to purchase. Hello?
Some people would think, what are you talking about? But it's true. They exist in those
It's just the 1950s. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so I get
So, Buddy,
I get to take
your
us out of the
favorite.
West. We did a bunch of dialogue about Western styles.
This is Buddy's favorite style, Joe, so we may be here a while.
Yeah, so Art Deco. Now, this is particularly near and dear to my heart, and Bobby's too, because we joined the Art Deco Society of San Francisco, and they're very much engaged in preserving some of the Art Deco buildings that are reminiscent of that era and so interesting in so many ways. They have two big events in the year and lots of little events going along. One is their gala. Joe, to see everybody dressed up in the 20s and 30s attire is amazing. And then they have a great Gatsby picnic in the fall,
how fun.
which is about 1,000 people attend that event. It's amazing. So the Art Deco arena has got some beautiful styles originated from a kind of early Egyptian styles. This is amazing. And then blended with 1930s of Hollywood and the tropical pastels that you find in Miami Beach. Bobby and I were in Miami Beach, and you want to see Art Deco. And what is that, South Beach?
Full force.
South Beach.
Yeah.
Isn't that
You know
amazing?
what?
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
We pulled up to a Marriott, and I said, oh, my gosh, this is really old and really tiny. Well, they couldn't change the front. You can't change
Right.
the fronts of the buildings. But you walk in, and it was
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, they build on the back.
On
It's
the
all
back.
modern and all,
Yeah.
but you keep that original style. I think that was wonderful that the people of that area had the foresight to maintain it. So there's a, typical Art Deco have flat roofs, smooth stucco walls with rounded corners, bold exterior decorations, and the style is used more often for office buildings than private homes. So some of the things that they're preserving are commercial buildings.
Art Deco Society was in the building in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That they're preserving buildings. That's what the whole
Yeah.
event was about.
The City Club. Beautiful,
The city.
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Oh, the brass doors alone are extraordinary there. So that's one of my favorites, the Art Deco world. How about let's go back and get a little more Americana, Joe?
Yeah, Americana. The log home. Can you imagine the log home? Some people attribute to this, but originated small cabins in the 1600s. Daniel Boone's what comes to my mind. Originally, they were built with one room using no nails, which is interesting. It's a great concept when you understand how those were built. But now many of the log home functions as large, luxurious getaways, actually. It's funny, as I read this and we talk about that, you see some of the most gorgeous kind of log cabins, right, if you
stunning,
will?
stunning. We have a property up in Twainhart, and I was driving around, and there's this log home that sets back across the field with a beautiful log barn. They must have spent millions of dollars building. This log home is enormous, but it looks so stately from afar, I must say.
Yeah, but it doesn't. The climate that's surrounding the areas, really dictates that type of wood, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you
That type of wood.
You probably wouldn't see that maybe in downtown San Francisco.
No.
But I have to tell you, we were up in Telluride. We had just joined Sotheby's. We went up for the farm and ranch
Launch,
seminar and launch. And Joe, she had disassembled how many homes on the East Coast?
14 homes on the
14
East Coast
homes.
to take the logs
from those
hand-carved logs
Yeah.
to build her place in Telluride.
Oh, my God, you're kidding me.
No.
Wow.
And
I don't
it
know
was
how
one
they
of-
let her tear those down, but she did. 14
Wow.
homes.
Well, she didn't tear them down, throw it away. She brought it back.
She used it. I mean, the
It may
beams
have
were
been
amazing.
abandoned. Oh, it was a phenomenal house. One of maybe 30 that she owned.
So, Bobby, going to take us out to the East Coast?
Yes, I am. My fave. One of my faves.
It's only
My
appropriate
Cape
for Bobby
Cod.
takes us to the East Coast.
Yeah.
I know. The first Cape Cod. I just think they're so wonderful, just in their design. But they were started in the 1600s, and those are called Cape Cod homes. And they were inspired by Britain's thatched cottages, but they were built with steeper roofs and larger chimneys because of the cold northeast winters. I mean, they are freezing back there, so you've got to make sure that you've got a way to protect yourself. Windows flanking the front door, dormer windows up on top, and then the cedar shingles are also very typical of this style. And then in most of today's Cape Cod homes, they were pretty much built after World War II. Mm-hmm. And they were very modestly priced home developments. You know how when everybody came back from World War II, it was like a big push for the vets to get their homes and start communities and start neighborhoods. And they're still cute as a button. When Buddy and I go back there to visit his daughter and his granddaughter, cute. Just the ones that have been kept up just have that specialness. And, of course, they use the blues and the yellows and grays and deep barnboard reds. And
we were talking about South Beach in Miami and their desire to pass laws that keep the property looking of that era. Well, the same is true on Cape Cod. You can't go build just any old thing. You've got to go through a pretty rigorous structure analysis and permitting process to make sure you keep that Cape Cod flavor. But I'm going to go into one more that's kind of that northeast character, the Colonial. Back in the 1600s, we're back there again, Bobby. This colonial architecture originated. There were many variations of the style due to the diversity of the early American settlers. It's kind of known for its symmetry, and most often characterized by evenly spaced shutters and windows. The dormers are what really sticks out in my head when I talk about colonial. You've got these dormers that pop out of the roof, very interesting. Columns and chimneys are also evenly proportioned to complement this kind of formal style. It's a little, kind of just bland in one regard, but stately in another.
Well, the stateliness, I think, comes from the columns, which is not what you get in Cape Cod.
Yes.
Yes, because people go, what's the difference? And it's colonial's kind of like Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, that's what I think of, the colonial or Georgian look.
We're going to have a trip down south coming soon in one of these styles, right?
Joe, what about the salt box?
Ooh, salt box. That's interesting. I saw that on the list looking at that. This is all fun stuff, I'm telling you. You got to go to Bobby's website and check this out. So the traditional New England style of the house with a long pitched roof that slopes down to the back, generally a wooden frame house. The salt box is just a one-story typically, one-story back and 2 stories in the front. The flat front and the central chimney are recognizable features, but the symmetry of the unequal sides in the long, low rear front line. I could say, imagine saying that quick. Long, low rear front line, roof line are the most distinctive features of the salt box. So that is interesting. What takes us to the name, or I should say, which takes us to the name from its resemblance of the wooden lidded box which salt was once open. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They kept salt
That
in a
is so
box that
funny.
looks very much like the salt box house.
Yeah, it's kind of reversed, though.
Yeah.
The slant is
The
in the front of a
slant- I was
salt
just
box.
gonna
You
say,
pick it up for the salt.
pick it up for the.
But
That's
these
interesting.
houses turn around, and the
Yeah.
front of the house is the high point, the 2 stories. But boy, when you see a salt box house, you know it's a salt box house.
You do.
There is no second questions
No.
or guessing about the
No,
salt
no.
box.
Exactly. But these are just so much fun to do, guys. And we're going to have a second series on
Yep.
these. And we'll be covering contemporary, craftsman, Dutch colonial, Georgian colonial, Federal Colonial. I bet you had no idea we had so many.
I did mention Colonial had a set of variations,
yes.
didn't I, earlier?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. New England Colonial. Here we go. So, Joe, what do you have to say about all these? I bet you never thought you'd learn so much in a half an hour.
Well, some of these were really obvious, but what's so neat about, the constant education is there's a lot of these I had no clue I didn't hear of. And I can't wait to continue the series because this is a lot of fun. I mean, the bottom line is there's a lot of history to real estate, and what we're going to try to do is take you kind of through the road of the history of the real estate and a lot of these different distinctive styles, which is neat, the residential building styles. And I think it's probably a little more difficult, I would think. You guys spend a lot of time. Bobby, you're from the East Coast. There's not a whole lot of history out here, right? Compared to the compared to.
Totally.
Just going to say to you, do you think there'll ever be a revival of the McMansions?
Well,
there's a lot of history in Palo Alto. They're trying to preserve it. Some of the towns are. Mm-hmm. Some, if you have a really old, what they call historic house, even if it's only 500 square feet, you can't knock it down and build anything bigger. It is considered historic, and it's under that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but historic here is 1800s. It's historic there at 1600s.
That's right.
Remember when we kicked off the third leg of the Worldwide Auto Tour in Plymouth, Massachusetts, 1620. We went on the Mayflower. Ooh, that's a journey.
That is a tiny boat, Joe.
I wouldn't have taken
Three
that
of us
ride.
wouldn't, and we had hundreds of people on it. I'm blown away.
All right, we're going to finish up. It's a fun show. Be sure to stay tuned. Remember, this is the first one of a series. We're doing a residential building styles. This is Joe Kuchera sitting alongside Bobbi and Buddy. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.